Hey there, everybody. James Caulfield here. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out these videos that we've been posting. Today, we're going to go 3 for 5 with our Good Shepherd. In the Gospel of John chapter 10 to be exact, Jesus identifies himself as the Good Shepherd. The Gospel of John has 7 statements where Jesus begins by saying, I am. And in John chapter 10, he utters one of those statements, and it is, I am the Good Shepherd. We see that in verse 11 of John chapter 10. Now, before we look at the 3 truths that are contained in this statement, let's get a glimpse at the context, because context is a very powerful tool to keep in mind when we interpret Scripture. Now, in John chapter 9, there was a great event that led up to this statement. In John chapter 9, Jesus healed a man that was blind from birth, or he was born blind. He never saw any light. He was in darkness from the day he took his first breath. Jesus healed this man, and word got out. The leaders, the religious leaders especially, were very angry that this happened, and the man identified Jesus as being the one who healed him. As a matter of fact, their anger was such that they excommunicated him. They kicked him out of the synagogue because he would not say anything ill against Jesus. So, in chapter 10, Jesus uses this as a teaching tool. And in this teaching tool, he contrasts himself with the supposed shepherds and leaders of the people. And he uses this as a wonderful tool to identify himself. Now we're going to look at the 3 truths contained in this statement. In verse 11, the first truth is this about our Good Shepherd: he gives. That's one of his credentials. He gives. The leaders, the political and the religious leaders, they used their position to take. They took from the people. They did not give. They were to be the true shepherds, but the people existed for them, and they took from them. Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. I give my life for the sheep. I die for them. He would go on to say in verse 17, this is the reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life for the sheep. Verse 18, he says, nobody takes my life from me. I willfully lay it down. Now, going back into John chapter 10, verse 11, 12, and 13, as he contrasts himself with the leaders of the people, he describes them as being a hireling. They see danger coming, they look at the danger approaching over the horizon, and they leave. They care nothing for the sheep because they're a hired hand. They're in it for the money, not for what they can give, but for what they can take. The first truth I want you to see about your Good Shepherd is he gives his life for you. The second truth is he knows. Jesus tells us in verse 14 and 15, he knows the flock. He knows who are a part of his flock. And he goes in even greater detail. He said, as the Father knows me, I know those who are mine. Think of that. In verse 3 of John chapter 10, Jesus says he calls out his flock by name. I want you to think of this. Jesus, the sovereign Lord of all, he not only knows your name, he knows everything about you. Even the darkest secret you have, he not only knows it, but he loves you enough to die for you. He knows you, and he gave his life for you. Verse 16, the third truth and the third credential is he seeks. There is the parable of the lost sheep, where Jesus describes himself as going out to seek the lost sheep, and he brings it back into the fold. Verse 16 of John chapter 10 says, there are other sheep who are not of this fold, and I must bring them too, speaking of us who are Gentiles. But the Good Shepherd is not content to sit back. He came to seek and to save that which was lost. So, my friend, in these troubling times, and all times are troubling in their own way, I want you to remember, you have a good shepherd. He gave his life for you. He knows you and he loves you. And even while you were an enemy of God, he pursued you. To use the term, he sought that which was lost. I hope that truth encourages you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button. Check out some of our other videos as well. May the Lord bless you and keep you.